Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Team Chess Championship. This tournament has already started, and today our main character is Hikaru Nakamura, who is currently classical chess rating world number 2. There's a bit of a drama that has happened to him in this tournament so far in the Blitz section. And some of you guys might know that he had a nearly perfect 6 out of 7 score. And before I dig into one of the games that he had played, first of all, I'm going to quickly introduce this tournament, some details to you guys because it might be helpful. And first of all, the 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Team Championships are 2 team over-the-board events organized by FIDE. So both Rapid and Blitz, these 2 sections. And here there are the players. There are about 55 teams confirmed to participate in the 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Team Championships. And below here, we have the top 5 teams by average rating and also their players. In the first team here, we have the WR Chess team, which is the favorite. They have an average rating of 2695, close to 2700, and we have these players participating. And then here in the second team, we have the Hexagon Chess team, where also there are a lot of strong players in it. And then here we have the Kaz Chess, these players. And here we have Freedom team. Well, that's an interesting name, where we have Anand and also plenty of strong players. And then here we have Team MGD1. We have like Arjun Naragaisi, Hare Krishna Pentala, and yeah. So there are a ton of players participating, and also this is rapid chess and blitz chess, so things are going around really fast. So there are a lot of things that can happen. A lot of dramatic games that will happen, of course. And here, also in the blitz, we have these teams as well. Here we have the schedule, where to watch, and the format. The 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Team Championship features different formats, and here is the format for the Rapid. There's a 12-round Swiss tournament, time control, 15 minutes plus 10 seconds each move increment, 2 points for a match win, 1 for a match draw, and 0 for a loss. And here what we're focusing mainly on in today's video is the blitz part. And here the pool stage is, teams are divided into pools of approximately the same strength and play a round robin. Time control is 3 minutes plus 2 seconds each move, so really fast. And here 2 points for a match win, 1 for a match draw, and 0 for a loss. Here is like you have the same, like 2 teams have the same scores, then they will go into the playoffs. 16 top teams from the pool stage play a knockout. When that is when the most thrilling parts come in. The knockout is always the part that just like attracts the most people, because a win is a win, and if you lose, you just get knocked out. And each round consists of 2 matches with players alternating colors, black and then white, white and then black. So it will be very fair for all of the players. And here the prizes, well, it's a very high prize. First place, there's 110,000 arrows, and so on. And for the blitz, also not that, just really good actually, not bad. It's 75,000 arrows. The location at last here is in London, England. Alright, so all of these are some of the details that you might be interested in, and also this format might help you to understand more about like how the players are really going on. And now let's go back to the main topic. As I've said at the beginning of the video, Hikaru Nakamura is our main character today. And as I've said, he had a nearly perfect 6 out of 7 score. But the only game that he lost is the most memorable game that he had played, and possibly in this whole tournament so far, one of the most memorable games. He is with the white pieces and playing against a 13-year-old from Azerbaijan. And as you might have already guessed, the reason that I am talking about this game is because this is the game that he had lost. So today let's take a look at this game where Hikaru is with the white pieces, playing against 13-year-old international master Khagan Ahmad from Azerbaijan, who is rated 2290, close to 2300, but compared to Hikaru's 2837 Blitz rating, still there's a huge rating gap between them. So it's actually really hard to it's just unexpected, and no one can really expect what happened in this game. So let's get started. Hikaru with the white pieces starts with the move e4, c5, knight f3, d6. We have the Sicilian defense, and this is called the canal attack. Bishop d7, this is the main line, takes, queen takes d7, short castle, knight f6. Right now, both sides are just blitzing out, playing each move out immediately without thinking, still in their comfort zone. And here d3 was played by Hikaru. Ahmad here plays knight c6, developing his knight. Basically, in this opening, what I can figure out is that Hikaru chose an opening trying to simplify the position more and go for an endgame or a later part of the middle game, instead of just really going for some very serious and full of strategies, tactics, something. He just wants to go for some for endgames or simplified positions. That is most likely his idea. Knight bd2, e6, and here c3 was played. Bishop e7, rook e1, short castle. So far for black, for the kid, he didn't really get any huge pressure from Hikaru because Hikaru is not really pressing too hard. Basically what he is doing right now is just to maneuvering his pieces, coordinating them to better places. Here b5 was played, so this kid is also playing really aggressive on the queen side, and this is actually the way that he should be playing. Sometimes when you're even just facing against someone who is 500 points higher than you, maybe even 600, or I don't know, just definitely much stronger than you are, but you just have to follow the way that how chess should be played. For example, here you think I can go b5, but for some people they just think that I'm playing against someone who is so strong. Should I just go for something more safe, safer or more positional to keep my pieces safe, my king safe or anything, and they just don't go for attacks. But here, Ahmad just goes for what he needs to do and plays b5 and creates counterplay on the queen side immediately. For Hikaru, he does the same and starts to break through in the center by playing d4. d5 was played. So all of these moves are quite accurate. Knight e5, queen c7, because now if you take on e5, this is not good. After d takes e5, white gains the tempo by attacking this knight, and after the knight goes back to e8, here for example knight g3, and it's actually not that easy for black to decide to whether push the pawn or just keep it there, because he can't really take now because the queen is being pinned. So it is white who is the side who gets to decide whether to open up everything or just stay this way. So this will be much better for white. And that is why in the game, Ahmad plays the move queen c7, which is very accurate, and also putting pressure on the e5 knight, forcing Hikaru to take on c6, queen takes c6. Again, here we have a pair of knights off the board. e5 was played. Knight d7 and queen g4. Hikaru is now going for some kingside attack by threatening moves like bishop h6. But this is just some really basic ideas, and it's not a problem for Ahmad to spot. And he plays the move rook fc8. Not a bad move, and his idea is to whether, bishop f8 back or even knight f8 back, knight g6 ideas. Knight g3 was played, so again, white is also threatening knight h5 to attack black's king. But for Ahmad, he is not really worried about it, and he plays c takes d4. Bishop h6, putting a ton of pressure on the g7 pawn. g6 was played. Now the problem for black is that bishop f8 is no longer a good move. Actually, it just loses immediately on the spot, because after bishop takes g7, bishop takes g7, and then knight h5. White pins this bishop, wins a pawn, and also is gonna checkmate black's king. So in the game, black is somehow forced to play the move g6, but this also at the same time just weakens the dark squares. And here Hikaru plays the move c takes d4 to take back the pawn, no problem with that. Queen c2, sliding into the position, and also this is a really tricky move because it can also at the same time not only attack the b2 pawn, but sometimes even queen f5 retreating back to defend the king side. So this is a very flexible option, and here rook e2 was played. So Hikaru decides to attack the queen. The queen goes to d3, and he attacks it again. The queen goes to c4, all forced. And here, Hikaru plays the move h4. This is considered as a blunder. And he played this move without really thinking. And I can tell at this point, Hikaru, who is still having 2 minutes and 35 seconds on his clock, and his opponent only has 1 minute and 26 seconds. Hikaru is definitely kind of really comfortable for his position and also his time advantage, and also the rating gap between him and his opponent. And besides, he's just playing against a 13-year-old. So sometimes you just feel like when you're playing against those who are definitely much just worse than you are, your chess skills, sometimes you just feel like I can play anything to win, but it's not like that. For example, here after h4, knight takes e5. Ahmad just plays this move, knight takes e5. This is a move that is really obvious. For most of us, this is really obvious because white can't take on e5 since he'll lose the queen. But now it comes to Hikaru, who is making these kinds of really basic mistakes, and it somehow just leads to the only explanation that he just kind of got way too comfortable for his position. And here he spent about 20 seconds and then played queen f4. Definitely he missed knight e5, and already black is up a pawn. And here knight d3 was played, which is a mistake. It is much better for black to just simply retreat back to knight d7 and defend everything and beat up a healthy pawn. So no need to really fight for anything. But here knight d3 was played and somehow will give white some chances. Hikaru plays queen e3, knight b4, but this knight is somehow misplaced as well as this queen, and it just doesn't seem right. But here Hikaru plays queen e5, again going for these really basic ideas like queen g7 checkmate. What he should have done instead is actually to play a3 to attack this knight, and knight c2 doesn't work because after queen e5 and then after bishop f8 takes, rook c1 wins the knight on the spot. So here, if Hikaru is playing against, for example, Magnus Carlsen or Fabiano Caruana, he would definitely notice all of these mistakes that he had made. But again, he is playing against a 13-year-old who is, the same age as I am, and he just didn't really see anything. He played queen e5 immediately, but after bishop f8, king takes f8, right now, queen f6 was played. But if he had played a3 at this point, there's knight c6 is possible, but also just simply knight d3 back to attack the queen. And after queen f6 to even play knight c1 ideas, and black is really safe. So here Hikaru plays the move queen f6, trying to gain control of everything. Right now he is not really worse. The position is equal because he does have a better more active pieces and a safer king. Well, let's see how this game continued. Queen c7, rook e1, queen d8, offering a queen trade. Of course, Hikaru rejects the queen trade, and after king g8, h5. Goes for the attack, but Ahmad plays very accurately g5, queen f3 back, and we have a couple of normal moves before Hikaru yet again made a mistake. He played queen b3. Like, he just wants to attack the knight and attack the rook. And for most of us, or like for some of us, we might think like queen e7 to defend the knight or something, or a5 to do that. But nope, there's the move, queen f6. This is a brilliant move. Sacrificing this knight, but really white can't take, because after take, white will just get mated after 2 moves. King h1, queen g2, that is mate. So after queen f6, Hikaru needs to play something, either to go back with the queen, but he'll damage his pawn structure as well as lose the pawn on b2, or to do the thing that he had did in the game by playing f3. But this just simply damages his pawn structure, damages his king shield even more, and after rook c4, defending this knight, knight e3, but after rook takes d4, this is a mistake because, well, in the game, Hikaru will show you why, but now, before I go into the game, there's a5 to defend this knight, and after knight takes c4, b takes c4. Sacrificing material, but, like, black is up, like, 2 pawns or something. Well, actually, black is up 1 pawn, but has this really nice knight that will be willing to jump to d3 in any time. So, but this is really hard to calculate. And already, both sides don't have enough time, so rook d4 was played instead. And here, Hikaru plays knight g4. Rook takes d1, rook takes d1, because if you take on f6 and after rook d1, let's say you play king f2, but after rook c1, let's say, black has 2 rooks against a queen, and not bad after all. So here, instead, rook takes d1 was played, and the queen comes to f4. But actually, the only square for black to go back available is queen e7 to defend the b4 knight this way. And the reason that queen f4 is not good is because queen c3 check first, and f6, and now there's rook d4, which is actually a mistake. But it looks really reasonable, right? Because after rook d4, you think that there's this fork that is really nasty, but it's actually not. And here, what white should have played and what white should have done to win immediately is to play a3. And this knight has to go back to a6 because that's the only square available, but now after queen c6, attacking the rook as well as the knight at the same time, and suddenly white is just winning, because if you play knight c7 to defend the rook and also defend the knight, but unfortunately there's now queen d7, the king goes back, but you just simply lose everything and the position just falls apart for black. However, in that game, since both sides don't have enough time, Hikaru decides to go for something that looks more reasonable, but it turns out to be a huge mistake. Rook d4, but knight a2 is now played, queen d3. The only move available for white to stay, okay, is to play this way. But already, black is the side who is up, plenty of pawns, knight e2. Maybe it's still possible for white to try after king f2, knight f4, but still, white needs to play extremely accurate. But after queen d3, queen c1 comes, king f2, queen takes b2, because if you play king h2, which might seem safer, there's now queen c7 check. And there's just no reason to get into a check like that. But after king f2, queen takes b2, king g3, f5 is a mistake, but both sides don't have enough time, and this is another mistake. And that is actually like the losing move for Hikaru. The only move for him to save the game and to hold a draw, like force a draw, is to play rook takes d5. But this is already somehow impossible for a human to see with only a couple of seconds left on the clock. And after takes, you take the f-pawn and force a repetition or just keep on checking your opponent's king until it's a draw. But unfortunately, Hikaru didn't see that, and then if you didn't play rook takes d5, anything here just loses on the spot. Queen takes c3, rook takes d5, but it's just one move late and it's not enough. Takes, but already, Ahmed is just up a knight and up plenty of pawns. And this is just game over. A couple of checks, but immediately after more moves, at the very end, a couple of checks, but immediately Hikaru runs out of checks as the king just goes up the board. And finally, there are no checks. Well, that's one more, another one, but then there's no checks. And after queen e8, knight f5, both sides played on for a couple of moves, but immediately Ahmad decides, he manages to win another pawn. And now all he needs to do is just start pushing his pawns further up the board and go for checkmate. And here, after g2, king h2, queen e2, king h1, Hikaru decides to allow his opponent to checkmate him. Queen takes f3, king h2, check, takes, check, goes up the king, goes there, check, and then the final blow, queen f1. And with that, Hikaru lost this game, and his opponent, Khagan Ahmad, 13-year-old international master, beat world number 2. What a game. Because now if you play king h2, knight f3 is checkmate. What a game. Now even though Hikaru lost, his team still won, but this still shows how strong these new young generations are. But also on the other side, it also shows that, if you still remember, Hikaru has 6 out of 7, a really nice score. And sometimes for the side who are less strong or weaker, sometimes if you just beat an opponent that is much stronger than you just once or twice, just a couple of, only 1 or 2 times, it doesn't really matter a lot, because it doesn't really tell that you are stronger than, it doesn't show that Khagan Ahmad is stronger than Hikaru. Definitely he is not so far, but it of course makes those weaker players to become more confident. And I'm pretty sure Khagan Ahmad is one of these really strong and upcoming young prodigies, and he does have a bright future. But for Hikaru, he lost this game, maybe thought that he can just win in any situation, but he is wrong. You still have to be very serious no matter what kind of opponent you're playing against. Alright, so hope you guys learned something from this game, and thank you for watching my recap of this game, and thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!